WrestleTalk.
Just what is going on with Liv Morgan and Dominik Mysterio? I am Luke Owen, DAD. I'm joined by Tempest because Dan is on holiday this week.
Making me watch these horny young wrestlers.
And welcome to the WrestleTalk podcast review of Monday Night Raw. Please do press the subscribe button, give us a little thumbs up as well. Leave a comment down below with what you thought of this episode. If you are watching us live, then you could join in the conversation right now where we had a pre-show poll on who came up with today's title and thumbnail. I can reveal the results.
Between the two of us?
Well, no, the options were,
Oh, I see.
Was it me? Was it Dan? Or was it Ollie from Holiday? Or was it Tempest?
Oh.
You got 2% of the votes.
Thank you, viewers.
Because if you are listening to the audio version of this, the thumbnail for this episode is Dom straddling Liv with Huck Tui.
Oh. No. Let me Huck to her.
Gonna blow the cobwebs off this thing. And I comfortably won the poll with 67% of the vote. Dan got 16% and Ollie got 13%.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was me. Well, of course it was me. Absolutely 100% of course it was me.
It's never me.
Because, so originally, fun fact for you everyone, if you set a video as unlisted on YouTube and it's set within a playlist, you can go to that playlist and find the video.
I hate it.
So even if we're not meant to have put the video out yet, you can find it if you go to a playlist and stuff. Everything I'd set up, I always put into a playlist on the podcast, and then I set it as unlisted, and there's any of that. So some people tend to find the streams before I've even finished doing all the meta and the back end stuff. The original version of this was about Drew.
Mm-hmm.
I had it about Drew McIntyre because that for me was the most interesting thing on the show, was Drew winning Money in the Bank, saying, I'm going to cash it. He ended off this show being like, I'm going to be world champion on Saturday. Because he's going to win the Money in the Bank, he's going to cash in, and I think there's loads to talk about with the CM Punk thing. And I set that up, I created a thumbnail for it, I set up the stream, I titled it, diddly diddly doo, and I'm there doing the back end metadata. And I just go onto it, and I search for Drew, and ain't no one talking about Drew. And I searched for Raw, and no one was talking about Drew there either. I was like, man, what are people talking about then? And I should have known. But I typed it in, and of course it's the Liv thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Liv thing. So I was like, well, I kind of already done like a Liv Morgan, Dominik Mysterio thumbnail already from when they did the Smoochie Kiss.
Uh-huh.
So what can I do here? So I went onto the Google search terms of like, what are people searching for Google terms? And one of the top ones is Liv Morgan smashing Dominik Mysterio? So I was like, well, boom, there's my title that I'm going to put Huck to in the thumbnail. Because for all the people that are a bit moany about this, it's a bit of fun, lads. Come on, it's pro wrestling. It's a bit of fun.
You're not allowed to do that.
No,
I've come to find.
Apparently not. Apparently you're not just allowed to have a bit of fun with these podcast titles. I've got to be really serious about this. But anyway, so yeah, that's what we're doing today, everyone. Is what people are searching for. So that's what people want to talk about. That's what we're talking about.
If you haven't ever noticed, we did a list on Parts Fun Known like 2 years ago that was what were the 10 most watched WWE YouTube videos. And I think like 8 of the top 10 are people smooching.
One of them is Randy Orton kissing Stephanie.
Which is really weird. Don't know why it's that.
It's really high up on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
it might have been number 1.
No, I think it's either number 1 or it's a tall person winning a battle royal.
There were a lot of battle royals on that list as well. But
Great Khali, battle royal, and kissing. Those are like the 3 magic ingredients.
When Omos wins a battle royal on Raw, we'll lead with that. For the time being, when we don't have such a thing, we have this to talk about. Because, I mean, it is the top women's story on the show.
Yeah, they had a world title match on this show.
Absolutely.
They got involved in the Rey and Dom match.
Mm-hmm. Multiple angles throughout the night.
There were only 5 matches on this episode of Raw, and 2 of them were based around this Liv Morgan and Dominik Mysterio storyline.
Yep.
It's almost half the show.
I don't know what people are complaining about.
So yeah, I don't know what people are mad at me for. So get yourself your knickers in a twist and stuff, but we're having fun here, everyone. It's a bit of fun. Anyway, so we are going to talk about, we'll talk about both matches, may as well. So Zelina Vega took on Liv Morgan for the Women's World Championship. Dom came out early on. Rey came out as well because they had a match much later on. I thought one of the cool spots on this was Liv doing Rhea's submission.
Yes, the prism lock.
The prism lock, that's it. And I thought that was a cool thing because she kind of did it while looking at Dom. I thought that was a nice bit of fun. They did an avalanche sunset flip powerbomb, but Liv rolled to the outside. Dom and Rey got into a bit of an argument. Crowd weren't like super into this at the start, and part of that is because Zelina Vega, I think, has won like one match in the last year.
Might be generous.
So no one really believed that she was going to win. But I thought the two did such a good job that by the end of this match, once people started to get into the sports entertainment nonsense that was going on around ringside, they got super into this match. But I thought the pair of them did amazing with those near falls that made me think they might just do this. You know? Maybe they will just put the belt on Zelina Vega.
This isn't Puerto Rico with a valiant effort against Rhea Ripley. No, I mean, I never thought that she was going to win the title by any means, but I do think it's funny that every once in a while, you know, if you're watching like the other company or something like that, you'll see a match where I'm like, ooh, this would be really good, and I don't want a bunch of shenanigans getting in the way. And then you have a match like this where the match is the shenanigans, and the shenanigans really help sell everything because, you know, it's a TV title match that people don't necessarily think is going to result in a title change, but what people are looking forward to is seeing whatever Liv and Dominik are going to do for each other.
Again, you look at their YouTube channel, and it is all the most watched videos are around Liv and Dom. People are mad into this. It's not for me. Like, I'm not into this storyline. I've been saying to Dan for the last few weeks, I am at the point now I'm like, okay, get there already.
That, I feel like, is the case across most of this show for me, personally. And I agree with, like, it is working. The people pop huge for this angle. This storyline is clearly doing things for the live crowd and everything. And I think Liv has settled into a character that she is able to portray very well. The problem with it is, like, I feel like you could watch any episode of Raw and the interactions they have just like out of order and none of it would make a difference.
That's it. I don't feel like the story ever progresses. It is just something of the same each and every week. But they're in like, you know, there are sort of lots of different theories and stuff of what's going on around this because what happened was Dom tried to help Zelina Vega just like he did at King and Queen of the Ring. He slid the chair in for Vega to use and he was like, use the chair. And she's like, no, doofus. So what we're going to do, DQ myself because it's right in front of the referee. And she gets rid of the chair. Liv uses this distraction to hit Oblivion and gets the win, retains her title. She tries to like celebrate with Dom, but he just like storms off. And she does an interview with Kathy Kelly, which is like, I'm the luckiest girl in the world. I dedicate this win to my daddy Dom. And they had a backstage segment earlier in the night where Dom and Priest were chatting. And Priest was like, hey, so what's going on with this Liv Morgan thing? And Dom's like, look, I spoke with Rhea Ripley. She's all cool about it. And he's like, well, that's funny, because I just spoke with Rhea Ripley, and she's pissed about this. And Dom's like, look, I'm trying to sort it, all right? And I'm like, I'm fixing this. He's like, I feel like you say this every single week. I was like, yeah, me too, bud. Like, I feel like we're just having the same conversation. And they go into the Judgment Den, and
they're playing 2K24 like a bunch of dorks.
They used to be the spooky goths that won via turning lights on and off and stuff, and now they're just sitting there playing. And Carlito turns to Priest like, I'm playing as you.
Yep. I mean, I will give them credit. While Finn and Damian Priest had their back and forth or whatever, one of them had a very difficult kick out that they managed.
Oh, yeah, they nailed it.
They didn't use the resiliency. They just kicked out. I was really impressed. I was just like, ooh. And went back to my disillusioned self.
I said this last week, but Carlito is my favorite thing in this group at the moment. Like, this is the most fun I've had with Carlito since his debut.
What, when he stabbed John Cena?
Yeah, when he stabbed John Cena. Wait, did he stab him or Jesus stabbed him?
Well, Jesus stabbed him on Carlito's watch.
There you go. So they had a little interaction and stuff because Balor was trying to convince Priest to let Liv Morgan into the group. Liv Morgan was there originally, and then she left when Priest and Dom arrived. And Balor's like, look, she helped us win the tag titles last week. She should join our group. And they had a little bit of banter back and forth. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit later on. Because in the second match that we had as part of this storyline was Rey versus Dominik Mysterio, a rematch of last year's WrestleMania. Liv comes down, Zelina Vega comes down and brawls with her. But before that, Liv saved Dominik from getting hit by the 619. And Rey then drop-kicked Dom as he was trying to tell Liv Morgan to go. And we basically got the inverse of what happened a few weeks back, where Liv fell on top of Dom in the missionary position. This time, Dom fell on top of Liv. And rather than Liv grinding on top of Dom like Alexa Bliss to Randy Orton that one time, Dom was trying to get off, and Liv was holding him in position. The match continued.
Neither of these were missionary. They were both mounting each other in the cowgirl position.
Yeah, okay, I guess. I think he's sort of like, yeah. I was trying to find like not 69 basically, like, but yeah, okay, mounting. Yeah, I'll go with that.
I mean, to be fair, Dominik was mounted on top of there. She had her claws in, and he was going nowhere.
Yeah, he was not moving at all. So Vega came down. She brawled with Liv. So I guess that feud must continue. Then they kind of brawled up onto the ring apron. Dom accidentally got knocked off the top rope, so he fell onto his dom-doms. And then Rey hit a very innovative 619 from that position. Dropped the dime, and he got the win. And Liv's trying to apologize to Dom as he walks away. So this has been going on for a long, long time now.
Since she won the title.
Kind of since just before, pretty much since Rhea got injured.
Yeah.
Really, is like that she has been after Dominik Mysterio. So this has been going on since, the 2 weeks after WrestleMania, say. And there's been, Sats was on the King and Queen of the Ring review, and he was adamant. He's like, those two are working together. They're absolutely 100% in cahoots. This is all part of a plan. And the longer it has gone on, the more I think that they are not. And I think it's partly because Michael Cole thinks that they are, that is making me think now that they are not in cahoots. And you are building towards the reunion of Dom and Rhea Ripley when she comes back, and they can have their China Eddie moments. So I feel that they are not working together, but I still very much buy into this idea that Liv is going to lead a new version of the Judgment Day. Where do you sit on all of this?
I think that is probably the correct theory, currently at least. I also think there is a distinct possibility they are leaving both doors open for them to decide later.
Yeah.
Where Rhea might come back. I don't know when. I know she wasn't supposed to be out for like that long, comparatively speaking. Like, might be back around SummerSlam.
They're hoping. Like, apparently the report was from 5 like they've got their fingers crossed that she'll be able to be on TV in the lead up to SummerSlam.
Right? So, in theory, after this pay-per-view, you could do some sort of like payoff to whether or not they're together. But if for whatever reason Rhea can't make SummerSlam, then maybe you can drag it out a little bit longer, which I wouldn't be advocating for by any means, but I think this does come to a head when Rhea comes back. Otherwise, I'm probably, like, when they started all this, I was like, yeah, for sure, they're working together, whole deal. Liv has asserted her dominance over Rhea, so therefore, Dominik Mysterio must go to the new mommy. And I hate all the words that just came out of my mouth. But I could see it going either way. I think they set themselves up for like a satisfying enough payoff one way or the other, because I don't think Liv was supposed to be maybe she was the one that was going to dethrone Rhea in the first place. But this could be looked at as like a nice little like diversion detour storyline to do in the months until Rhea gets back. And then once we get back, you can either reform the Judgment Day and go on as we were, or maybe you just divert and go a completely different direction with it all, and everybody turns on Rhea, and she can be the big baby face that she basically was, but, in form and function this time.
I get the feeling that we probably are going to see the end of the Judgment Day this Saturday. Like, I feel that we are heading towards, because the stipulation for that world title match is if Rollins wins, Priest has to leave the group. And I wonder whether or not, I'll talk about this a little bit more on tomorrow's prediction show that I did with Pete, that Balor's going to make the decision for him effectively.
Interesting.
Because they've kind of got their little tete-a-tete of just like, you seem to think, like Priest said last week that they need me more than I need them. And Balor was like, look, I don't think that's cool to say. And Priest's defense of it was like, well, at that point, I was the world champion. You guys were just dicking around playing 2K24. Now you're the tag team champions. We're all on equal footing again. Just like when Rhea was the world champion and we had nothing, we needed her more than she needed us. But now we're all on equal footing again, so we can be back together. But Balor's not listening to any of Priest's plans. I wonder if Balor turns on Priest this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do Priest and Balor as one of the SummerSlam matches, and you can have Liv effectively lead this new version of Judgment Day with Finn, JD, and Carlito. A weird little
very strange little menagerie here.
Island of misfit toys that they
Yeah.
are. Priest can go off in his separate direction, and Dom can go back with Rhea, and they can just be a little unit together.
I think, yeah, honestly, you're selling me on it. I hadn't given it like that much thought watching it, because as we said leading up to the pod, like this didn't really feel like a go home show for a pay-per-view.
It really didn't.
And I know that kind of ends up being a bit of a trend for Triple H booked shows and such, but if you had told me Money in the Bank was 3 weeks from now, I would have believed you. So it didn't give me the feeling that like the end is coming 6 days or 5 days from now, whatever it is. However, with the fact that Money in the Bank is this weekend, I could see that being the thing if they decide that now's the time to take the title off of Damian Priest and you want to do Seth and Gunther at SummerSlam. That's personally what I would do, and I think that's a satisfying enough way to set up both Finn and Priest for something to do at SummerSlam. I just, I don't know when they want to take the belt off of Priest. Might not be right now. We might have another week, or another month rather, of just like slow burn, oh, Finn's not listening, they're not on the same page type stuff, and then maybe that's the feud for the fall instead. I would have it the way that you said, but I'm not in charge.
No, that's it. I am very much now at the point where I'm like, no, let's get to the... I'm ready to get to the next step of this storyline. Because, like, as I said earlier, it's not for me. Like, I don't look forward to, like, the Liv and Dom things. But, like, I did go and look at WrestleNomics' Patreon page and looked at the quarter-hour breakdowns and stuff. And it does tend to pop quarter-hour ratings. It's the same thing with, like, people keep having a go at me being like, Chris Jericho doesn't bump ratings. Like, you can literally look at the ratings patterns and see he is either the highest rated segment or, like, the third highest rated segment on a show. It's not for me, but it works for a TV audience.
What's wrong with you people?
I don't know either, but it works. And the same thing with this. Like, it's not for me, but it is working. And people are really into this. So I can also see the arguments be made of, well, why would you pay it off then?
Yeah.
If people keep tuning in to see what the next step is, just keep doing that. Just keep eking it out.
Yeah. I mean, the same argument could be said for, when Roman didn't lose the title to Cody Rhodes last year.
Yeah.
Because, well, this is working. Why would we stop? And then eventually it stops working. And people look back and went like, oh, it would have been nice if it finished when it was hot. Mm-hmm. So that you've got the whole thing there and you could be like, wow, that was great. You could pay this off and hopefully follow it up with something that people are also interested in. It's not that you have to ride this one hot hand for months and months and months until people get tired of it and then go, all right, now it's over.
And as a sort of full, like, this is not a particularly hot go-home episode of Monday Night Raw. And I think that Raw, like, the last 2 weeks, particularly off the back of the Wyatt Sicks stuff, we've had, like, so many Ultrachats in. Like, when they had the debut, we were inundated with chats. It was like the first hour of the show to get through just the Wyatt Sicks stuff. Last week with the Bo interview, same thing happened again. It's like 45 minutes just to get through the Bo stuff and everyone's Ultra Chats and things like that. Just 1 week later, I'm looking at our Ultra Chat document here. We have 2 Ultra Chats in.
Yep.
And one of them is about the thumbnail for this episode, and the other one is about Yeet. And that is it. Like, I don't think this was a particularly hot go-home episode of the show. I got a bit of heat in the comments on the edited review for only giving it 3 out of 5. It's just, I don't think there was a huge amount happening on this show.
Absolutely not. Anybody that wants more than 3 out of 5 for this episode of Raw, like, they just won't be happy with any sort of criticism of a show like this. I don't know. To each their own, I suppose, but like, it's not that serious.
So, like, let's look in the Ultra Chats here. Just Donnie, he's been a member for 33 months in a row, said, "Who did this thumbnail? Bring them to me. I just want to talk." It was me. I think the Huck Tui thing is funny, and I'm really pleased to see that the Huck Tui girl is making a career off of it.
I'm really sad that meme caught on after Worst Match Ever was edited.
I know, because I was going through the comments on Worst Match Ever, and everyone was like, man, they could have made a Huck Tui reference. I'm like, we recorded this like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It was too late.
If it had literally been like a few days earlier, I would have been like, oh, one more.
Yeah. But it was.
Well.
The edit was in, but and we've got
it's good. Go watch it. Parts fun known. Worst match ever's back.
And Space Viking here said, I had no idea Jey was actually using yeet correctly. Thanks, Luke. Did you notice that Gable and Cole saying feast your eyes at Retribution on Raw could be nothing but what if?
Yeah, they're bringing back all the members of Retribution.
One by one.
One by one. Turns out they're the ones in the masks. They're the Wyatt Sicks.
Yeah, so I didn't know this either. I went on dictionary.com because Gable made the claim that yeet wasn't a real word.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out it is. It's in dictionary.com.
Everything's a word now.
And
if you use it enough, you can get any kind of slang onto the dictionary.
Well, that is a perfectly cromulent way of looking at things.
It sure is.
And
you just need enough riz.
And Jey is using it correctly.
Sure.
I think the Feast Your Eyes and Retribution things are... Retribution less so, but Feast Your Eyes was just like a little comedy nod. Like, Dijak even retweeted it to be like, by the way, I think Chad Gable is the best wrestler on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
We have got another chat here that said, I agree with Luke. Too many video and talking segments. Less than an hour of wrestling on a 3-hour show. 3 out of 5 for me.
When you have like a full, like, I don't know how many minutes it was, but it was like a full recap video package of like the Bloodline angle on SmackDown. I was like, ooh, they're filling for time.
There was a lot of like filling for time on this.
The full clip of the WrestleMania doc, which I get you want to promote and everything, but like there's a lot of video packages and things on this show.
Yeah.
And 5 matches. I know that's kind of like the funny number because you got either 5 matches or 15 matches, and I'd really love a 10-match card, which is right in the middle. But, yeah, you know, it's a WWE show. They'll be light on the wrestling, and the wrestling that they will have will be good, and, you know, it's just not the focus of the show.
Well, this show opened with Jey Uso coming out. Very cool because like he's in the concourse area and he's like surrounded by these like rabid fans that want to be like around him and stuff. And he makes his entrance. Still looks like awesome and everything like that. Corey is doing commentary because Pat McAfee is with his family. Best wishes to him. And Jey says that he's going to win Money in the Bank. He's going to win Money in the Bank. Denny Salcedo on the Fightful post show said, as soon as he said Munyeet in the Bank, I was like, oh, they've branded it. He's winning this Sunday.
Yeah, they're going to have a sticker across the briefcase.
Chad comes out and says that yeet is not a word. Turns out it is. But miracle is a word. And it is a miracle because I survived monsters in the Wyatt Sicks. I survived 2 monsters last week to qualify for Money in the Bank. It is a miracle that I'm here. And that's going to be another miracle when I win at this coming Saturday. And hey, you should be the one who's scared of the Wyatt Sicks because they came after me, but you stole their fireflies.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay's like, look, I'll give them back. Like, I don't need them. I'll take the maggots. I don't need these fireflies. And they get into a little bit of a brawl. Chad escapes. The lights go ka-chung, ka-chung, ka-chung. Chad then sort of every exit he turns to, there's a different member of the Wyatt Sicks kind of blocking his path. A little bit of a milady action from Uncle Howdy. And he goes through the crowd, and Sister Abigail walks up to Michael Cole to deliver another package, which we later find was another VHS tape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
He's staying quiet because...
Listen, I caused a real stink a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, people were not happy with you, bud.
People were not happy with me, you know? And on one hand, I get it. You don't want someone to rain on your parade. Everybody was having a fun time with this thing. It's not for me. I get it. However, I am now here, and I am reviewing this episode of Raw. So therefore, I have an obligation to give my thoughts about this thing. And I'm sorry, I think this is horrible.
Yeah, you're not into it?
I think this sucks so bad. I think the VHS tape thing was really cool. And I said the same thing in the office last week. The Bo Dallas stuff, I think, works phenomenally. And that's what this should be. Them doing spooky garbage doesn't work for me. There were 2 dudes dead, laid out across the announce table when she gave the tape to Michael Cole. There's no explanation for that. No, like, oh, 2 of our guys have just been killed by these people. Let's get security up again. It's just part of the show. And don't tell me it's not spooky, because it is. It's spooky nonsense. There's fog machines. They have control of the lights. Everybody stood there. Their spooky monster costumes. Oh, doing a little thing in the silhouettes. And it doesn't help that I think that they have absolutely bungled Chad Gable. And I've given them enough time to be like, okay, he didn't get the WrestleMania match. I'll give them time. Okay, he shouldn't beat Sami right after WrestleMania. I'll give them time. Oh, they turned him heel. Okay, I'll give them time. Okay, they're breaking up Alpha Academy. Maybe they'll do something there. And that just kept going and going and going and going. And it never paid off on any of the pay-per-views. And they did a really half-assed payoff of it on Raw a few weeks ago. And now they're just trying to get back on the same page and everything. We're right back where we've been for the last 2 months. I think what they were handed a top babyface on a silver platter with Chad Gable. Something that we as fans have been craving for years. They gave us a little morsel of it, took it all away. I think that was a really bad move. And I've not seen anything in the actual in-arena presentation of these Wyatts that is making me think that this is anything other than what I feared it would be. I think the Bray stuff or the Bo Dallas stuff is great. I will 100% give them that, and I will praise it again when we get to that point in the show. Otherwise, this is not for me.
Yeah, this is like the first time we've seen them in this sort of environment, interacting with someone, making them run away scared. It is hard to kind of present them as, it's not a spooky group when they are presented in a spooky manner. I think they are still trying to find where the line is. I thought the VHS stuff that came later was great. Like, I think it's really cool. I wasn't that bothered by this. I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt with this group. I'm kind of still waiting to see where we get on. I would much rather we don't do any of this stuff and we just do all the VHS stuff.
Just say it was shipped to you.
Yeah.
Say get it in the mail or whatever.
I don't even mind Sister Abigail delivering it. Because I think some of that presentation, and I think Nikki is doing a really great job in this. So I like that. I thought it was awesome last week. But the big lights behind them and the silhouettes and stuff, that I think was like, I'm not ready for this bit of the group just yet. I kind of want to get to know these characters first. Mm-hmm. And I think you can do a really good job with that with the VHS tapes. But we'll come on to that in a little bit.
Indeed.
Our first match of the night was Xavier Woods taking on Karrion Kross. They had a shortish match. Woods rolled up Kross to get the win. AOP attacked them from behind, and the Final Testament laid both of them out, with Karrion Kross seemingly breaking the arm of Kofi Kingston.
It's Karrion Kross fella, huh? This is one of those matches, like, Brian and Vinny did a really good rant, like 15 years ago or whatever it was, when Rob Van Dam came out and was like a surprise opponent of Sting. And he, like, beat Sting with a flash pin really quick, and then afterwards Sting just killed him. You know, beat him up and everything. And they were just like, you guys are just doing stuff. Like, who is this for? Sort of like,
yeah.
Are you trying to get either of them over? Because you failed at both. Like, I don't think they're trying to get the New Day over with what they're doing here, and you're not getting Karrion Kross over by beating him. If I was given the opportunity to be in the writers' room for here, mm-hmm. I would have pitched Karrion Kross let him win. His whole deal is, I want to help you. Like, Kofi Kingston is holding you back. The New Day is holding you back. You're the only one of this group to have never held a singles championship. And it's because you are surrounding yourself with these wrong people. So Woods gets a roll up here, and Karrion Kross sells it of like, oh, he beat me. I'm like, no, you should sell this of like, I let you do this. Mm-hmm. Not like, you don't tell Woods, I let you beat me. But you sell it of like, oh no, he beat me. You do the big oversell of it. Because you want to give Xavier Woods the win so that you can almost like lure him more into your group, as opposed to he just beats you and then you beat him up afterwards. Yeah.
Because I don't think that's really accomplishing much. I was quite into this story. I've been into this story for the last couple of weeks. I feel like I'm the only person on the planet that's into this story.
If it means a push for Xavier Woods, I'm really into it.
Yeah.
That's the question, though, is it?
It's the most interested I've been in Karrion Kross in all 4 years that he's been in WWE, and that includes when he wasn't there. I didn't love this chapter of it.
Yeah.
I think the arm break spot's cool, though. I think it's a pretty cool submission. I thought that Kofi sold it really well.
Yeah. Like, that's it. Like, the performances, like, dramatically, theatrically of everybody I thought were fine. But, like, it's not, like, a new thing that Karrion Kross does a match and the people go silent either.
The bell rings.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a difficult sell.
We got a recap of the Judgment Day winning the tag titles from last week, and then we had that backstage segment we talked about with the Judgment Den. Carlito was the shining star of it once again. And yeah, Finn basically said to Damian Priest.
I don't know if you meant to do that, but shining stars.
Yeah.
Okay. I can never be sure with you.
Finn said to Priest at the end of the segment, since you won that world championship, you've changed, man.
You've changed, man.
Yes, he's changed, man.
Punch the mic.
So, I don't know. I feel that this coming weekend we may see. I also do correct I said Sister Abigail earlier. It was Abby the Witch, of course it was. My mistake.
Get your puppet straight.
Yeah, that is on me. My bad. Sincerely, obviously. I do mean that. I get the feeling with this group is going to be done by the end of this week.
Yeah, it makes sense. Honestly, they've had a good run.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, they've been breaking this team up for a year and a half now. So I'm kind of ready to get there.
The team started with kicking out their leader. They should be a lot more used to breaking up by now.
We had a lovely video package for Sika after his passing, which I thought was really, really well done.
They always are.
Yeah, really good use of some new interviews and some old interview clips and stuff. I thought this was really, really well put together.
Yeah. Like I said, there are a number of things that WWE completely excels at, and they always have. Having the library that they have to put together the most amazing highlight packages to celebrate someone's life and career has always been one of them.
Then we had the Zelina Vega Liv Morgan match. Then we got a promo for Drew McIntyre ahead of his main event, which was really, really good.
Very good promo.
I thought all three of them had awesome promos. And then there was a little bonus one in there for Ludwig Kaiser, which sort of tied into the Sheamus one. I thought it was wicked. I thought these are really, really good. One of my favorite things about the Triple H era is, I quite like this whole triple threat thing that he does for qualifying matches.
Yes, absolutely.
But he's also very good at doing video packages for each guy or girl to be like, and this is why they are in this match.
Yeah. And I think it is a really good shout where you look at a match like this and you probably think that Drew's winning because, obviously. But you look at this and you think, I could see justification for all three guys being in this match, being the one to win it. So having each of them kind of give a brief reiteration of what has gotten them to this point where they're at storyline-wise. I mean, it's part of the more sports-based presentation that Triple H has brought to these shows. And like you said, I always love his little triple threat qualifiers or two triple threats and the winners face each other and there's your number one contender. All that sort of stuff makes for good TV.
Drew was then walking backstage, and in the background you can see that Sonya Deville was talking with Zoe Stark, and Shayna Baszler walked out to be like, "No, you're my friend.
Hey, come with me.
Come with me."
What? We got a pantomiming in the background.
We got the first 2 minutes of that WrestleMania 40 documentary that is out tomorrow. They aired the 2 minutes on YouTube. I don't quite know where I sit with this. I know a lot of people are really excited about this documentary, and I'm excited to see it as well because
they're always
because they're really good documentaries. Like I used to love the 24 series that they did
absolutely
on the network and stuff. I think they're really good. Or like the 365 documentaries. WWE are very good at making these sorts of docs. But I have seen the criticism of showing this on Raw is that you do have to find where is the kayfabe line then?
Yep.
Because you are presenting a show where this is real life. And then you have Michael Cole being like, now ignore all of that. Here's how we make the sausage.
I think there's a very easy way to get around this. You don't put Triple H at the center of it as the head of creative.
Yeah, but he has to be the main character.
Of course he does. But to me, I think what you can do, and what I seem to remember them doing a lot more often with the 24 series whenever they would do WrestleMania, is it is just let's check in on everybody the day of, or the weeks leading up to it, and get their thought process, how their gear's getting made, if they're preparing for their entrance and that sort of thing. You can do those sort of things and skirt around the how are we booking this show thing.
Because it's Triple H being like, the card for WrestleMania was 80% done in October.
But before the Royal Rumbles had been won?
And, and we say he's talking about that. And then just interviews with Bruce Pritchard being like, this company's really turned a corner since Triple H took over as creative. He's got a really good mind for how this business works. And I totally get the idea of one of these things is not like the other. And you can air these on YouTube. absolutely, you can put these up on YouTube, and the documentary goes up on YouTube, and it's fine because that's for the people like us. The problem and the people that are bringing forward to this is, what about the casual viewer who doesn't know about all of this stuff? Like, what are they supposed to make of this?
Yeah, I know that kayfabe barely exists whatsoever in today's day and age, but I wasn't a fan of, like, this bit being aired on during the wrestling show.
Yeah.
It is, for however successful your immersion within your suspension of disbelief is during these shows, it can't survive something like that.
Yeah,
it snaps you out of it for that moment, and that's not saying you can't get it back as soon as you go back, but I'd rather you not have that bit in the middle.
Well, that's it. I think there are some fans who can just do it. Like it's my job. I watch the show. I know all of the backstage going ons and stuff because I do the WrestleTalk news and I do this show and I'm interacting with you fine folk watching and listening to this at home. But when I'm watching this, I do get invested in the stories as well. In the same way I do when I go to see movies. Like, I read The Hollywood Reporter and I read Variety, but then I go to the movies and I get invested in those things. But I wonder if there are some people who are turned... and I know there are, because I've seen those people online that are turned off by putting this on TV. And I can see both arguments.
Yeah.
I don't know where I sit on it.
If this was a really long movie that for some reason in today's day and age had an intermission... If you went and did the intermission, you come back to your seat, and instead of going right back to the movie, they started with like hey, here's a word from the director. Let's see these behind-the-scenes shots of here's how we came up with this decision of this and that. I think that would break people's, their immersion within it.
Rollins came out for a promo saying that he needs to win the title back this Saturday and recaps the steps for their match with Priest, because if Rollins wins, Priest has to leave the Judgment Day. If Priest wins, Rollins can't challenge for the belt again. Priest doesn't come out. Balor comes out instead. And he's basically going to come down because he wants to attack Seth Rollins, soften him up a little bit for his brother Damian Priest. But Priest comes out and was like, no, that's not what we're doing. Because this is not about me and you. It's about me and him. This is about me and Seth here. There's a bit of miscommunication between Priest and Balor, and in the end, Priest defends Balor and stops Seth from attacking him, and he hits the South of Heaven chokeslam. And he helps Finn to the back, where he tells him, do not get involved this Saturday.
This is the thing. It kind of ties into everything that we've been talking about to this point. I don't know if just because it was like it's in the middle of the card, so it doesn't really feel like the world title angle closing, thing to set up your match on the pay-per-view. It didn't feel like a go-home angle for this show. Maybe it's just because I still don't think Damian Priest is like that hot of a world champion to, really grab me for all of this. But I saw it, like, it all was fine,
That's it. I think this is a totally fine angle.
I think it's totally fine.
I think the stipulations, me and Pete will talk about this on the prediction show tomorrow, but I think the stipulations have added to this match.
Yeah.
Like, I think it has made it slightly more, I don't quite know which way it's going to swing. But I haven't come out of any of the TV angles they've done being like, oh man, I can't wait to see this match. I'm just excited to see this match because I think it's going to be good.
I'm excited to see this match because in theory it would lead me to a Seth Rollins-Gunther match. And I would be very excited for that.
Yeah.
But like, again, it's fine.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like your go-home angle for a big world title match on a big pay-per-view. And you'd probably want that. But I feel like that's also just kind of been the case for most of Damian Priest's run in general as well. So, beating a bit of a dead horse with it.
WWE are teaming with Bojangles for some food and cups, which look like very cool cups.
Yeah.
We then got a video promo for Ludwig Kaiser, who announced that he did indeed break his ribs last week, and hopefully he'll be back soon.
A damn shame.
A damn shame, because he's been awesome as of late. And this promo was so good.
It really was. I was very worried when they decided to split up the tag team of, Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser. Because I'm like, why are you doing that when it feels like we kind of need more talented tag teams in the mix, both on Raw and SmackDown, Because, the tag titles on both shows have been absent on pay-per-view since WrestleMania, which kind of shows that they've taken a bit of a backseat in terms of importance and such. So you kind of want it to be fresh in a revolving door of top teams. And when you broke that one up, I was like, that's really a decision. I hope they can justify that. And they have, just giving Ludwig Kaiser a bigger opportunity to shine as a singles guy, which I mean, I knew he was talented. He's always been talented. Marcel Bartel, appreciation, yeah. But he's really grabbed hold of this little opportunity that he's had. And he's not had, like, a lot of monumental wins or anything like that. He's just slowly raising his stock through very good performances.
And he's gotten over his little runaround gimmick as well.
Yeah.
I thought this promo was great.
Yeah, really dug it.
Cannot wait for him to come back as well. We then had a recap of Damage Control beating up the Unholy Union from last week, which led into our Money in the Bank qualifying match for Dakota Kai versus Zoe Stark versus Ivy Nile. Little heat, but good action. Zayn ran down for the distraction, but the Unholy Union attacked her, and off that distraction, Zoe Stark hit the Z360 on Dakota Kai for the win. They did bring up on commentary that Dakota Kai was sad on Twitch last week because she's just looking for an opportunity. So they're now turning that into a story.
I probably have more thoughts on this match than anything else on the show.
Go for it. Floor is yours.
Well, here's the thing. I don't want to get on anybody's bad side. I want to kind of look at this from all angles, because there are a lot of angles of which to look at this. Because Dakota's in a story. She's got a thing going on with Damage Control and such. You know, that is a thing. Granted, it's not like she's winning a lot of matches. I understand her desire for a push. But you have that over there. Maybe that would conflict with having her in Money in the Bank alongside Io. Like, Io and Bayley were both in Money in the Bank last year, and that was sort of the highlight of the match, was Io winning, handcuffing Bayley and the other person on the ladder together and climbing over them. Yep. I think that could have been done. Furthermore, you do have the angle of Dakota Kai, like, publicly pleading to be given something of great importance to do. And I tend to find that WWE does not react well to that happening a lot of the time. Maybe that'll be different under a new regime, but you look at, like, Peyton Royce did the same thing on, like, a Raw post show or something like that, and was quickly fired afterwards. You know,
see, true Long Island story.
I was about to say, Zack Ryder's the poster boy for, hey, don't actually grab that brass ring and such. So there are a number of examples of this sort of thing, and I do think in the back of my mind that there might be something to that of just like, hey, if you wait, you will get your turn. I understand you're tired of waiting, but also, etc. That's one thing. Next thing is I've seen a lot of people on Twitter today and weeks previous, because I don't think it's a particularly positive person, but they're all like, grr, Zoe Stark. You put Zoe Stark in this match, this person who gets no reaction and has no aura and all of this sort of thing. I would like to bring up, regardless of how angry Twitter gets, Dakota didn't get a reaction in this match either.
No.
I would like to just put that out there as one angle. On that same deal, I looked at the three people in this match and went, it doesn't matter. Just give it to Dakota. Triple H, I know you're on Twitter. I know you got your burners. I know that this is a thing. Throw them a bone. It would make those people happy.
I guess, but the story is that Damage Control is falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Io Sky's been angry about. So Dakota can't win this match.
I do agree. And these again are me looking at it from all the different things. And the first thing was that she's in a storyline that kind of goes along with her not winning matches. But the other thing is, like, this week it would have made a lot of people happy to just have her enter the match. And then I think you could very easily weave that story into the Money in the Bank and have them cost each other or whatever you want to do and have Damage Control fall apart that way. At the end of the day, in the grand scheme of the show, I don't think any of it really matters that much.
Mm-hmm.
The Damage Control story overall is probably the most important of all those, outside of, like, who's going to win Money in the Bank, of which I didn't think any of the three women involved here were going to.
No, but every Money in the Bank needs your Shelton Benjamin.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, I probably would have had Dakota Kai win this match. At the same time, Don't think it's the end of the world that she didn't.
No, Meltzer made this point a couple of weeks back where he was like, why did you bother pinning Kiana James in a Money in the Bank qualifying match? Like, you just brought her up, you're trying to make her into a big deal, you gave her a win on TV, and then the following week, you just beat her in a qualifying match. And I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, well, it's like you haven't got a big push for it. It's like you can't just have everyone win all the time. Like, sometimes you can just beat people and that's okay. But then I look at this match, I'm like, well, why? Kiana James probably could have done the same job that Zoe's going to do in the match.
Yeah.
But she's new and fresh and different. And there's, no digs at Zoe here, but she has not been getting reactions. She hasn't felt over since the Trish thing.
Yeah.
And that was a while ago now.
Coming up on a year.
Yeah, it's coming up on a year. And this team with Shane has not been like setting any worlds on fire at all.
It's one of a million WWE women's tag teams.
Like, she may as well be teamed with Raquel Rodriguez in terms of like how much it's getting her on TV and how much it's getting her over and stuff. So, I guess, Kiana James would have been something different, but like it is just another body to put into the match. But I do, for me, crucially, I don't think Dakota can win this match. I know that people online are upset about it, but she can't. The story is that Damage Control keep losing and Io Sky keeps winning.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to play off that.
Yeah.
And next week they've got the 6-woman tag of Damage Control taking on the Party Girls and Lyra. So likely Lyra and Io are going to cancel each other out in the Money in the Bank match to build to that. So yeah, I don't think Dakota could win here. But I do take your point as well of like, it would have made some people happy. What she needs is them to do a show in New Zealand.
Right.
Because if they do a show in New Zealand, she gets a world title match.
Yeah. We've learned that.
Yeah.
We've learned that many times over at this point.
Yeah. Well, I hit upon this on the prediction show tomorrow when I was talking about Chelsea Green. And it was like, she's Canadian. That's why she's in the match. Mm-hmm. I wondered why she was in this match. It's in Canada. Right, of course.
Happy Canada Day. One day later.
We then got the VHS tape.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Uncle Howdy interviewing Bo again. Bo talked about how he was destined to do this. Special implies that others are not. I'm not special. I'm just destined to do this. Like, we're the ones that people want us to forget. Kind of covering some of the ground that we did last week. We made them notice us. We've become a family. And there are some false prophets who left their family and took advantage of their families. And we're going to make them pay for their sins. And then this really cool moment when Bo said, I am the voice of the reckoning. And Howdy replied, I am the reckoning.
I thought that was really, really cool.
So cool, because that's kind of the last moment before you start doing lots of glitchy graphics and Bo, and then the other sort of flip the image and stuff so it looks like Uncle Howdy is in the same seat that Bo was in, and Bo's now in Uncle Howdy's seat. And then Uncle Howdy disappears from the frame and it's just Bo, and then it glitches again and it's just Uncle Howdy. Basically, this is a VHS saying, that is the last you're going to see of Bo Dallas. He is Uncle Howdy. Mm-hmm. He is now the voice and the embodiment of the reckoning. I thought this was real cool.
I mean, if he's the reckoning, I guess Retribution really is coming back.
Someone called Mia Yim. She was reckoning, right?
Yes. Yes, she was.
What was
Mercedes Martinez was...
This is a survival series round for you right here.
It was something, because she was only on TV like once.
Yeah, she only got like 2 spots, I think.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Oh, God. The chat's going to let us know.
Tire Tracks or something.
Yeah, it was like another like one-word deal like that. It was like Reckoning, but it was something else. I don't know. They'll tell us in a minute.
Yeah.
It's going to bother me.
It's going to bother me otherwise. Anyway.
Anywho, obviously the presentation of this is incredibly engaging. I find it to be really cool, spooky stuff. And it was like, it was kind of like when Mick Foley interviewed himself. Retaliation, that's what it was.
That's right, because she sounds like she should have been in Callus's group.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminded me of like when Mick Foley interviewed himself, you know, a few times that he did it, but less comedic, obviously. I think there's something really cool here. And granted, they very much may go in this direction, but given that Chad Gable appears to be their first target or whatever, that's not the direction I would go. For a number of reasons, Chad Gable specifically, but narratively, I think with what was said in this VHS tape, there's something really cool behind the idea of like this group going after people that like disregard and don't value their family.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe they go after baby faces and heels and whatever. Maybe at some point, like both Rey and Dom get attacked,
and
separate from one another,
and almost have to come together in order to.
Maybe that's their purpose, to spur people back together. I don't know.
And that would really work if you got to pair Rhea and Dom back together. Dom's going to start getting some babyface reactions again. Like that'd actually be pretty awesome.
I think, and there's a lot of family people. I don't know that I would immediately put the Wyatt group right next to the Bloodline or anything, but here's a group that's going to need to come back together as a family at some point soon. So there's a lot of different people kind of strewn about the roster with their own familial relations that they're working through. And this group with Bo at the helm of it being like, I lost my family and you are all neglecting how important that is and you will suffer because of it. I think that is a much cooler way of going about whatever they're going to do than, well, Chad Gable's mean to the people that he trains, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not getting that bit of it, but in theory, the direction they are or / could be going, I think is very, very interesting.
Honestly, if you'd have given me 100 guesses of who the Wyatt Six's first feud would be, I never would have got to Chad Gable. I never would have got there.
Yeah.
I'd have said Roman before I'd have said Chad Gable.
Maybe they attack Maxine Dupree and then they attack LA Knight.
Well, that's I get that's how we're gonna get Mason Mansoor back.
Absolutely.
AEW showed some interest and it's like, quickly get the phone, bring them back. Because it did lead into, I really like this backstage. I know you weren't keen on this, but I kind of dug this, which was Chad going up to the Enjoy Nice Catering section with Otis. And he was talking about, look, the Wyatts are coming after me. And I know I've said some very hurtful things about you.
And your choices.
Yeah, and exactly. And he's doing some things like, because I called you this, and I said you're that, and I think you're, and you know, there's that. But like, if they come after me, that means they're probably going to come after you next. And I was just like, look, I know you're in trouble, but I'm not going to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And Chad was like, yeah, but what if they hurt Maxine? What if they hurt Tozawa? And you have this moment of realization and notice this moment where it's like, oh yeah, I don't want to see them get hurt.
It's not about me.
It's not about me. It's about them. And then Chad says, and you know when they do, I'm going to have your back because you're my number one guy. I thought this was good, man. I really, really dig this. Because it is Chad manipulating them.
Absolutely.
It's not him like finding redemption or anything.
Yeah.
And I think that could then play into the Wyatt Sicks stuff of just like, we're not actually here to hurt you guys because you've done nothing wrong, but he has.
That is kind of how I feel about it. Like, I look at this segment in a vacuum, and I think it's very well performed, and I really like the manipulation of Chad and everything. Like, a good manipulating heel has done wonders for WWE in the last few years, Roman in particular, obviously. I think my problem with it is that it is coming quite soon after a fairly lackluster split.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
If literally the only difference to this would have been that Otis turned on Chad at the pay-per-view in the Sami match and done the big blow-off deal, and then we do this, I don't think there's hardly any problem with it. I don't know that I would still be on board with Chad being the first target with these serial killer people, but otherwise, the progression of the Alpha Academy storyline, I think, would be much, much smoother.
We then had the Rey and Dominik match, and we had a video promo for Sheamus, which again was really, really cool. Nakamura was at UFC at the weekend.
Sure was.
And then we had Sami Zayn coming out for a promo where he said he was going to beat Bron Breakker at Money in the Bank. Out came Bron, and he said, everyone's scared of me, everyone's running away from me, no one wants to fight me, but you actually challenged me to a match. Tells me that you've got guts, but you've got no idea what you've gotten yourself into. And Sammy's about like, hey, a lot of guys have tried to break me over the years, but they never do.
Here's the proof.
And here's the proof. So maybe you're not as smart as you think you are. Maybe you're not as good as you think you are. And Bron just sort of looks at him and he's got this moment. Bron almost had this look of realization of just like, maybe he's speaking some truth here. Okay, I hear what you're saying. And he turns to leave and then boom, turns around and hits him with a spear. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, he did. He was awesome. And he lays him out and Sami's there writhing in pain and he rolls out of the ring and Bron Breakker goes to leave and his music is playing. He's like, yeah, I did a good thing. But hold on. What if I did it again? he picks up some pace and he runs around the ring and it's the best thing that this whole company does. And he goes to do it and Sami leapfrogs him. And because Bron is just, I think Bron is a lot like Bart and Lisa where they're just kicking and swinging the arms. It's like, if you get in my way, I'm just going to hit you. Yep. It's like, if you don't leapfrog me, I'm just going to spear you. Like, it is up to you to move, not for me to help you move. Because Bron just runs around 100 miles an hour and he clatters into the stairs. It looks awesome. They get into a brawl, back into the ring. Sami sets up to hit the haluva kick, but as he goes to run at him, Bron hits him with another spear and he poses with the title. I think of all the segments on this episode of Raw, this was the one that sold a pay-per-view. 100%. This made me want to see the pay-per-view.
Well, it was a wrestling angle.
Yeah.
You know, like that might mean different things to different people and everything, and it obviously can mean many different things. But it was a champion telling a young upstart that he's not as good as he thinks he is because he's better, he's been around the block, and he's got enough of this to outmatch all of their this. And then the other guy kills him because he's young and he's big and beefy and he's a monster and everything. He's a big badass, and you're going to see him probably win the title on the weekend. Maybe he doesn't.
Well, yeah.
But it's going to be great.
I also credit to Sami Zayn for that leapfrog.
Yeah.
Because as I said, like, Bron was not slowing down. Bron was going to spear him out of his boots if Sami did not get out of the way, but Sami leapfrogged him and I jumped out of my seat. I leapt as high as Sami did. It was awesome. And I'll talk about this again on the prediction show tomorrow. When Bron posed with the belt, I was like, maybe he's not winning this weekend. And then he did an interview where he was talking about the championship advantage. And I was like, it's going to be a DQ, isn't it?
No.
I was like, oh no, it's going to be a DQ finish.
I just want this man to win.
Me too.
Just win. Just win clean. It's not going to hurt Sami at all.
I said this in the 3 count that we did. I would do Brock Lesnar and John Cena at SummerSlam 2014. And I would just have Bron dominate him, beat him, laugh at all of his offense, and win.
I think Sami will probably get a bit more retaliation than that. But I would have this be like an 80-20 match in Bron's favor.
100%.
Just have him go out there and like, Sami's the perfect babyface to do that with.
Of course he is.
Yeah. I think what they've done with Bron has been exceptional. And I think he's going to make a great next Intercontinental Champion. This was probably my favorite thing on the show. It was the most pro wrestling thing on the show, and it made me really excited to see the show on Saturday or Sunday, whenever it is.
I can see Bron going through the same sort of tradition that Walter's just been through.
Yeah.
Which is IC champ for a while, and you use that as the springboard into that main event scene.
I don't know how long he even needs to hold it. He could hold it. He could lose it in a 3-way where the other guy gets pinned in December and win the Royal Rumble.
Absolutely. I'm not saying you need to do it for 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you're using the IC title to springboard you into the main events.
Yeah. If that can once again be what this title is, and I mean, it worked for the last guy, I think it would be a tremendous asset to this company. And that's after like 30 years of it not being that. So I'm excited already.
Kathy interviewed Damage Control, and then Lyra walked up, and the Party Girls had a brawl with them. They're having a 6-person next week. We then got a recap of the Bloodline angle from SmackDown, and this was like a long recap angle. We haven't done a SmackDown review because Forbidden Door was on, and sort of timing-wise, getting a lot of things going the way. This segment was awesome. Like, this was a killer angle to our cap of SmackDown.
I can't wait for there to be like a playlist of just the best Bloodline segments over the course of this, this long run, where it is the I don't give a damn what the tribal chief said segment, which is also like the Feeling Usi segment, and the Sami Zayn turns on Roman segment, and then this segment, the Jey Uso and I'm out too, and all the pops that come with this massive deal that has been built up and paid off tremendously.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman is a god.
He was so great. Like, he hadn't slept the night before, so he would look as bedraggled as possible. Like the scraggly little, like, stubbly beard that he had with his red eyes. He looked awful. And it was so good.
I have watched just him say, "You are not my tribal chief." I've watched that clip probably 30 times since Friday.
Yep.
It's my favorite thing.
When we come to do our like TV awards for the WrestleTalk magazine, he might be my honorable mention. He might be my wrestler of the month.
Wouldn't be a bad shout, honestly.
They played obviously this clip, and they played 2 promos for SmackDown as well coming this Friday. And they had the line from Corey Graves where he said, "I think we need to start believing Solo Sikoa that Roman Reigns is never coming back." And I thought to myself, he's coming back this Saturday.
Could be.
And a lot of people are looking towards Cody and Solo as the SummerSlam match. Roman comes back on Saturday, and the SummerSlam match is Roman Solo.
I'm much more in favor of it.
And then you can do Cody Randy.
Yeah. Do it, please. I'm begging you. I'm so much more interested in that reality than the other one that's been laid in front of me.
It was such a good angle.
Yeah.
Really, really, really good stuff. And I think SmackDown has been... I think like WWE as a whole, I feel that they have almost all woken up collectively and gone like, oh man, why are we in a post-Mania lull? We don't need to be. We've got this incredible roster. We've got an incredibly smart bunch of people here. We don't need to be in the post-Mania lull that WWE always goes into post-WrestleMania and has done, ad infinitum. We can be hot all the time. And now they're just hot all the time. And like Raw's been like really good. Granted, this week was not a fired show or anything like that. It wasn't a particularly great show. But I think the last 2 weeks have been awesome. And I think that SmackDown has been really, really great. I'm glad to see it as well. Because I was getting real tired of this post-Mania funk.
Yeah.
And
It's the draft, man. That whole draft, like, oh, well, everything's going to take into account in 3 weeks. And nothing in those 3 weeks is going to matter because all the pieces are shuffling. And then you have to then kind of reboot and get everything back going again after the draft. It just takes this like 2-month blight upon us all to get past that, and then after that it's back to having fun, good matches and big angles and paying off things and
absolutely
debuts and various bits.
I was so into this. Thought it was great. And I was super into this main event as well. Drew McIntyre versus Ilja Dragunov versus Sheamus for a Money in the Bank space. Of course, this match was awesome.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I'm shocked. It's McIntyre, Dragunov, and Sheamus. Like, shocker of all shockers, this match was rad. I thought Ilya's promo beforehand was also really, really good.
Yeah.
I swore then, I love Ilja Dragunov.
He's so good.
And it's people often like, why do you keep banging on about Ilja Dragunov, calling Ilja Dragunov up? And I'm like, this is why. Because you could have had this on the main roster for years at this point. You've had him under contract for so long. And we're finally getting it. And it's awesome and it's rad. It kind of bums me out that he's not in Money in the Bank. And that's not me being mad at the booking. That is me being mad. It's like, I loved seeing this guy and I want to see this guy get more. And I want to see, and then when he's on TV next, I'm like, I want to see him get loads of opportunities. He was great. I thought Sheamus was awesome. When he caught Dragunov with that jumping knee strike, when Dragunov went to do the coast to coast, so cool. It's everything about this match. We got the bro kick to Ilja Dragunov, but Drew broke that up. And then Drew just like tosses Dragunov into the timekeeper's area. And he gets in the ring with him and Sheamus. And the pair of them just like, just us now. Let's do what we do. And they had this back and forth. Drew hits the Claymore out of nowhere, gets the win. Great match. Great main event.
Very good closing angle of the show. Like, again, I don't want to go so far as to say it's like telegraphing who's going to win. It definitely is making you think that one guy is going to win. I don't know if Drew is going to. Honestly, I think this lineup for Money in the Bank is probably the most like evenly weighted match in terms of Money in the Bank and who could win that I've seen in a long time. And I think that's a huge thumbs up, a huge benefit to the match. I really feel that Drew McIntyre is just the focus of this show. And I probably would have had him win the world title because of that. But I understand the reasoning not to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is in some ways justified. But he's been the best thing on Raw like all year.
Yeah, certainly has been.
And I don't think there's been like a particularly close second.
No, it's not. And I think that Raw, more so than SmackDown, has suffered in this post-Mania funk because it didn't have Seth, it didn't have Becky, it didn't have Rhea, and it didn't have Punk.
Didn't have Cody either because he's now gone to the other show.
Exactly, because Cody's going over to SmackDown. So all of a sudden, it's just Drew. It's Drew, and then everyone else who doesn't feel like they're on Drew's level. And so, like, now they're starting to basically spend the last 2 months trying to build some of these people up to make them feel like they are also big-time characters. And it's helped that Seth has come back now, and Punk's going to be back soon enough. And then Rhea is coming back, and you're like, yeah, then Raw can be back on, getting all the wheels back in motion. Drew's been so great in all of this. I think he's been the best thing on this show.
He's hit his stride. Mm-hmm. He's been the best. He's been able to lose and still stay hot. Like, he is everything that you would hope a top star would be for this brand. I thought this match was fantastic. Again, shocker. It's 3 big, tough guys. I mean, Ilja Dragunov's not that big, but he's definitely tough. And I would see every combination of this match 10 times over before I would get tired of it.
Absolutely.
You know, like, I love this stuff. This is what I'm watching for. I want the top guys to be in the top matches and building top storylines. And with an ending of a show like this, you get all 3.
I thought this was great. And then afterwards, Drew cut a promo and said, "Look, I'm going to win Money in the Bank. And then I'm going to cash in. And I'm going to win the world title this weekend." I'm like, all right. Okay.
It's bold claim.
I do not think you are, bud. I think a certain Mr. Punk might screw you out of that belt and be 3 for 3 on screwing you out of being the world champion. Now, I've seen some people in the edited review say, like, oh, that kind of, like, it takes away Money in the Bank for a year because he's cashing in on the same night and then Punk just costs him that. But I think that storyline's so much more interesting.
Could well be. And hey, they basically at this point, or they can alternate which briefcase they want to feature. Have the women have a big long run with Money in the Bank.
Tiffany can hold the belt, hold the briefcase for ages.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I gave it 3 out of 5. I thought it was like a real proper thumbs in the middle show. Some of the stuff I thought was really good. I'm not usually the clock stopper kind of guy, but 50 minutes of wrestling,
that is not enough.
It's not enough for a 3-hour show. They just got to a point where I was like, man, there's a lot of video packages or a lot of sponsor reads, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to get into the discourse now of like what is better, the 3-hour PLE with 5 matches and a load of adverts, or the 4-hour pay-per-view that it is wall-to-wall matches. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that discourse now.
It's a happy medium.
That's because
you can be both.
You can be both, and I think you can do both in a TV show format as well.
Absolutely.
Where I think 50 minutes of wrestling on a wrestling show is borderline unacceptable, particularly when it's a 3-hour show.
Yep, I completely agree.
Because all that wrestling takes place during ad breaks.
Yeah, and Raw rolls on. The only other thing that I wanted to bring up was Seth absolutely blew Boston for their winning sports, and he should be ashamed of himself as a sports fan. They are the enemy of us all.
Let's get into your remaining Ultrachats. Please do contribute to our poll here. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. Because I don't think we've got any Ultrachats, any patron shoutouts just yet.
Nope.
I don't think we have them just yet. So Fred's going to kick things off saying, "Hey guys, won't be able to fit or get all my points in 250 characters, but what irks me when you say the show lacks wrestling. Wrestling, since it's been invented, has always been about character stories and moments first and matches second. All of it is wrestling. Anyway, love you." And I'm thinking, right, but that's the point we were just making then actually quite nice to sort of tie into that. There's a happy medium between both of those things.
Yes.
Like you can have both of them, and the show is, for me anyway, is better. I'm not saying that the Bron Breakker Sami Zayn wasn't a wrestling angle. I'm talking about like bell to bell in ring time. And it's like when they were just doing lots of throwing to video packages down the other, I was like, I'm ready to like watch some wrestling right now.
In a literal sense, I want to watch wrestling.
Yeah.
I want to watch the wrestling matches. And everything else, you know, it's the accoutrement to go around it, and that's fine, and it all has their place in this thing. It all has its place in this grand pro wrestling sports entertainment thing. But at the end of the day, me personally, and you don't have to agree, I want to watch some wrestling matches on my wrestling show.
And again, it's that sort of like there's a happy medium in all of this, or it's like you can have like both of these worlds. Are the people that argue that AEW don't do stories because their stories are this wrestler is the best wrestler and this person thinks that they're the best wrestler, I'm going to find out who the best wrestler is. That's not a story, or it's not enough of a story. And there are people who think that the Bloodline is too much of a story. Or like those people who like this think that this is not enough of a story, and these people over here think this is too much of a story. There's a happy medium in all of this.
Absolutely.
And there's a happy medium between wrestling and angles on a show.
I also just need to point out that wrestling, since it's been invented, is a bit about character stories and moments first and matches second.
That's not true.
That is just an abhorrent lie.
Yeah, that is not the case.
That is a WWE constructed narrative.
Yeah, wrestling has always been matches. And then it became about characters and stories and such. I'm a Firefly 2K said, is there a chance that Gunther loses at SummerSlam and goes into Berlin as the babyface? How do you get the title on Gunther, Drew, Punk, Priest, and Seth? Whoa!
Well, this has been the problem we've found this year so far. I have seen so many things, so many different ideas, theories, fantasy bookings, etc., about how you get the title from this person to this person, and also make sure that you have Gunther and Ilja Dragunov happen in Berlin, and all these different things. I don't necessarily envy Triple H's job in the sense of juggling this thing around. I've seen a bunch of different ideas. I don't think they're going to go with a lot of them that, Gunther could defer his SummerSlam title shot to Berlin and have another match with Randy to really definitively say it. I don't think they're going to do that. We're a bit removed from King of the Ring at that point. But also, I do think that this Drew and Punk program should have the title attached to it at some point. And if it doesn't, wow, Drew's really gotten far away from that belt by that point, because I don't think Gunther's losing that title quick.
That's it. Well, I don't think it needs the belt. I think Drew and Punk doesn't need that world title to it.
I think it helps it in a way. And not necessarily that it helps the storyline. I think, adding stakes to something is always gonna help. But I also think that title could be involved in the hottest angle on the show and really help make the title feel important. Because it has felt like a bit of an afterthought for a lot of its existence.
I just want Gunther to hold that belt forever.
I think Gunther could accomplish that as well. So we'll see.
How do you think they get Jey back to Jimmy and Roman if he was having the best run as a singles guy on a different brand? Well, the thing is, I don't think he's having the best run as a singles guy on a different brand. He's over. But I don't think he's not having banging matches on TV. It's barely been on TV really the last few weeks and stuff since the Money in the Bank win. I think that he just goes back to SmackDown.
You don't need much of a narrative purpose. No. Roman comes out at the end of the show the next week on SmackDown, Solo and whoever says your family's abandoned you. Both of them come.
Exactly.
They can hug backstage and they do something else, but the only other thing that I've seen is I don't like it at the lack of any other Money in the Bank plans. But if they really want Jey Uso to win Money in the Bank, have him cash in on the tag titles and then bring Jimmy Uso out as his partner and everyone go crazy. Oh my God.
They add Wyatt Sicks is not a spooky group. They're a backwards, creepy family. I'm envisioning the Hills Have Eyes or the Wrong Turn type of family. Well, I think that's what they keep saying, but then they have dry ice.
You can't show me what they showed me on TV where they can control the lights and they control the fog machines and they can all be their separate bits with their silhouettes lit and everything and tell me it's not spooky. I know that there is a real world way that this all happens, just the same way I know Undertaker wasn't actually shooting lightning at the ring, but they're spooky.
It's the same. I remember people having to go at me because I used to say that there was a period of time when Bray Wyatt was just a preacher type character. He was just this backwoods creepy dude, and then he became magic. And people were like, "No, he was always magic."
That's not true.
And I was like, "Well, no, he wasn't." I was like, "Those are two completely different characters." It's the same thing I've got here with the Wyatt Six. If you do them like the original Wyatt fan, it'll be like, "Yeah, cool. That is a backwoods type. The Hills Have Eyes, House of a Thousand Corpses style thing." But they're also standing in front of silhouettes and the spooky lights and whatnot. I think those are two different things.
Yeah.
There's a happy medium again. It's like the wrestling argument.
And you can do the lights out appear in the ring thing. That I don't consider spooky. If that's the length we were going to with this argument, I would agree. Like, oh, that's not spooky. That's just a bit of pro wrestling with a bunch of people that are creepy. But they are spooky.
Well, and again, this is it's not magical. Because like a spooky aesthetic doesn't mean they're magical. No one's saying they're magic. They're saying they're spooky. There's a difference between spooky and magic.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, do you think that WWE will bring in Julia because EO keeps saying that Damage Control needs a change? By the way, where's Meiko Satomura?
That is a great question.
Yeah. Imagine having Meiko Satomura under contract and not doing anything with Meiko Satomura.
Supposedly she was in the train match that Minoru Suzuki
I think she was, yeah.
Yeah, she popped up there, which is neat in DDT. I love those matches.
So good.
Jushin Thunder Liger was the train conductor.
Wrestling is fun, everyone.
Wrestling can be fun.
Wrestling is fun.
Let's have a WWE match on a train. Yeah, I think that's as good an introduction for Julia. It looks like she'd probably go to NXT first, which wouldn't be what I would do personally, but I agree. Firefly 2K, bring in both of them.
Sky here said, the Wyatt debut gave me serial killer vibes. The videotapes show a tortured mind of a cult leader. I love that. I enjoyed them blocking Chad from leaving. The fog and Abby appearing suddenly is more supernatural, and that turns me away. It's not new.
Captures everything that I said.
I mean, Sky, do you want this guy? Because we've just been doing this for half an hour, and like you summed it up in 3 sentences. Ibby here says, another 5 out of 5 episode for me. Raw's become my favorite wrestling show right now, which I never expected. Gable continues to be my favorite act in all of wrestling. Bo is killing it, and the main event was fantastic. Looking forward to Saturday.
I'm glad you enjoyed it that much.
Booking Like a Mark here said, just want to thank Tempest for being the voice of the minority in regards to the Wyatt Sicks. In the current sports-focused version of WWE, I feel the spooky stuff doesn't fit. Chad Gable deserves better than this angle. Give that man a title.
Doing this for you. Doing it for you, Booking Like a Mark.
MD Games has become a member, and Raph has donated with no message. And Just Donny here said, hey Luke, after thinking about it, I forgive you for the thumbnail. No hard feelings. Tempest rizzes me up every time he's on these shows. Wyatt Sicks is awesome. New Scene Queen album. It's rad, right? It's dead good. Hot Singles in Your Area, which is also my favorite album title that I've heard probably the last 20 odd years. It's really, really good. We've heard half of it because she's released most of it as singles, like in the lead up to it. Hot Dog, man. Peg is a great track.
Absolutely.
It's wall to wall bangers, that album.
Got a couple more to come in here.
Well, I can. I'm going to give a shout out to Kitty's new album as well.
Mm-hmm.
Genius, real good. Kuzu here said, I've said that if Jey returns to the Bloodline, it basically wastes his entire singles run for a year because he'll be taking a backseat to Roman again and just go back to being a tag team with Jimmy. But I don't see what else there is for him.
See, I understand this line of thinking.
Me too.
But I also would say to go into it with an open mind, because if this does in fact lead to Roman Reigns, the benevolent leader, I think there's very much a way to do this where Roman requires the assistance of both of the Usos. They fight off this new Wolfpack bloodline. And then afterwards, Roman just says, it's okay. You can go. Mm-hmm. And you can go and be that singles guy. Going back to Roman doesn't immediately just go like, okay, we're going back to the status quo of 2 years ago. It's going to be the Usos, day one, whole deal. It's only going to be them two, tag title reigns galore. If you really want to push Jey Uso the singles, you can do that. I don't know what it means for Jimmy per se, but if you want to push Jey Uso as a singles, you can do that while giving Roman a real nice character arc to finally be able to let go. He's never been able to do that, and that would be a real big character moment for him.
Love that. Do you know what I would do with my Roman return? I'd have the bloodline destroy him.
Wow.
That would be my first thing back, is just this new bloodline completely decimate him.
That's fun.
And just leave him laying.
The music, the slow walk gets in the ring, they just maul him.
Exactly, yeah. And it's like, maybe has a bit of a chat with him, and then they just surround him and they just beat him down, Shield style.
Yeah, like no one comes to his aid.
No one comes to
alone.
save him. He's all on his own. No, and then it's up to him. He has to extend those olive branches to get Jimmy back, to get Jey back, which will be the toughest one, to get Sami back.
I like it.
I like it, man.
I like it a lot.
Andy here said, thoughts on the Money in the Bank build? The IC title match, 6-man tag have had hot build, and the World Heavyweight Championship stuff is unpredictable with moving parts, as is the men's match.
Also, 15-month as a Manberg.
Do apologize.
Yeah, I think it's been like kind of a mixed bag. Like, and I think that just kind of comes down to doesn't feel like it's happening this weekend again. I think the lineup for the men's Money in the Bank is very exciting. I like this 6-man tag because Jacob Fatu being involved is just like, I can't wait to see this.
If he's wrestling.
Well, yeah, there is that. He's on the graphic, but so is Tongaloa.
The reported lineup is it's Solo and God.
Madness. Anyway, I'm less excited now. Regardless, you also have the IC title match. Very excited for that. World title match, I was like, yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see how it's all going to go.
Be a good match.
So, you know, it's a pretty good little card. I'm sad that I can't be there. Last year, they did the London show on Canada Day, which meant I couldn't go home to see Forbidden Door the week before Canada Day in Toronto. Now they're doing Money in the Bank in Toronto the week after Canada Day, and I just can't afford to go
home. But yeah, thoughts on the Money in the Bank build? I think the shows have been... It feels like a lot of the focus has been on stuff like the Wyatt Sicks, which has been building towards Money in the Bank. I feel like that. And like the Bloodline stuff, like the hot angle they did on Friday with Heyman wasn't there to build the 6-man. That was the angle they did at the start of the show. So I think like some of the stuff's been really, really great. But like I think what WWE have got and have got on every single show they do is these strong 5-match shows, which is just filled with star power.
It's going to be a hot crowd, I would imagine.
Hot crowd. It's going to be like hot action and loads of adverts, and I'm going to be into it, and I'm going to have a real good time with it. And I think that I've said this a lot about Triple H's booking since he's taken over WWE, but it reminds me a lot of when he was doing NXT, which is week-to-week TV. Sometimes it's missable, sometimes it's forgettable, but you never forget those takeovers.
It's true. The only difference, I think, is because there are more pay-per-views than there were takeovers. At the takeovers, you kind of had to pay off everything.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't do it, you're waiting 3 months. Whereas here, it's just like, oh, we'll push it to the next month. Or, oh, maybe we'll do it on TV. That sort of thing. I think there was a bit more urgency with NXT to do it on the big shows. And that would really be the only thing. Because I said when they did Clash at the Castle, which was the first real proper big, Triple H-led show, I was like, this feels like a takeover where all the matches are different and there's only like 6 of them and you can really just get into a flow with it and the shows are nice and concise and such. And yeah.
The other thing I want to put over for Triple H's style of booking as well is I think he does a really, really good job of making, like, putting big matches on TV. So you don't have to do 10 matches on a pay-per-view card because you're also putting some of these title matches on TV as well to make them feel like a big deal. Like this coming Friday, it's the tag title match between DIY and the Pricks. And like if in any other time period, that would have just been a throwaway match on the pay-per-view. Now it could be a featured match on TV. And I think that's a really strong way of doing things. Raf's message, by the way, it did get eaten by Streamlabs, said, last night was my first in-person WWE show, and it won't be my last. It was an amazing atmosphere, but especially seeing all the Fireflies light up, even just for a Howdy recap. The main event was a banger.
Indeed. I hope you had a lovely time. It certainly sounds like you did.
And we've got the results of our poll. 60% thumbs up, 35% thumbs in the middle. So yeah, I think that's roughly kind of where we're at.
Yeah, thumbs in the middle, leaning up.
Yeah, I think that seems about right.
Somewhere about there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just, to kind of round off our wrestling chat, stories happen in matches too. So that's going to end off for this episode. We have got a jam-packed week this week. So tomorrow, it is Money in the Bank predictions. On Thursday, it is the AEW Dynamite review. On Friday, it is our first ever middle of the year awards for best wrestler of 2024 ... so far. Then on Saturday, it'll be our best matches of 2024 ... so far. On Sunday, it'll be myself and Dan Layton reviewing Money in the Bank. Then on Monday, it'll be Tempest and Dan reviewing NXT Heatwave.
Fun.
And then on Tuesday, it'll be the Raw recap with all of the Raw fallouts from Money in the Bank.
Hell yeah.
That is a busy old week, so make sure you subscribe. Make sure you enable notifications to always on so you know when we go live, because we'll be doing all of this for you and your entertainment. Not all of them will be live, but you know, most of them are live. You can join the live chats then.
More plugs. We've got the list version of the best matches of the year so far coming this Sunday on Parts Fun Known. Make sure you're subscribed there. And of course, we're launching our own video game channel. It's been teased in the news and in Board Game Club over on No Rolls Barred. Control Freaks, CTRL Freaks, right here on YouTube. Make sure, of course, that you are subscribed. We are having some very exciting things being announced. We may or may not be having our first true bit of content come out on the channel tomorrow.
So yeah, make sure you go over there and subscribe. And we will see you tomorrow here on the WrestleTalk podcast channel for the predictions for Money in the Bank 2024. Until then, I've been Luke and DAD. That has been Tempest. Jam that jam.